Welcome to Psychic Girls Next Door. So today we are diving into the many healing modalities that we have explored recently. And so we'll talk about what they are, how they helped us, and the lessons that we're still learning on this journey. So I remember that in the last episode, you talked about your different therapy modalities that you have been exploring.
Yeah. I can kind of give everyone an update who's, down to listen to it. It's been kind of crazy. So I started therapy right before my 35th birthday, like talk therapy. And I love her. She's great. She lets me yammer on and on and on and externally process because I identify as an external processor. I know that sounds like such a computer chip type of thing, but some people can process internally where they need to go into themselves and really figure out what's bothering them inside. I do it by externally talking, and I'll journal, I'll process in the shower as well. And lately I've been incorporating working out as one of my ways to process and think and just shift the energy on a body level. Because for a long time my default is to be in my ethereal space. And ever since you've known me, you've known that I'm a space. I like to be up here. And so being grounded is a process that we learned in the program that we both did at Psychic Horizons. And so being able to integrate that. And so now Zoe's going to...
Oh, this is our special guest.
This is our special guest, Zoe.
So if you are just listening to it, just know that Shanna's cat likes to make special appearances here and there.
Yeah.
She's the third co-host.
She's the third co-host. Muscle cat. So being able to prioritize my physical health was one of my goals for turning 35, and then I got all my blood work done, and then I've been working with a dietitian through Alara Health, is the women's clinic that I got my blood results done. And being able to, I joined 2 different gyms, 2 different therapists. I've been going to Mission Close with Brittany a couple of days a week, and so being able to lift weights. I've been getting into lifting a couple days a week. That's been helping on a healing modality for my body stuff. And I realized I actually really like this. It just all it took was just actually just showing up. And I think sometimes when you just show up to things, it's just as simple as showing up. And then because once you're there, you're in it and you're doing the thing. And it's actually easier than I thought it would be. So these mental blocks and hurdles and narratives that I was telling myself, I've been cleaning out a lot of those in therapy and talk therapy, but specifically with EMDR. And so we started processing. I've started processing my childhood learned behavior of putting the needs of others over my own because of X, Y, and Z, so many various reasons. And so when we've been wiring my brain or setting new neural pathways to believe we're looking at a situation, and then we keep looking at it and looking at it and looking at it. And then she asked me how do you feel? And I have hand buzzers in my hands. And then she's how do you feel now after a minute of looking at it again? And I'm looking at it in my kind of my psychic space. You're kind of in a weird in between state, a theta state almost, as it kind of hypnotherapy. But instead of them guiding you through it, she just holds the space for you. And you have she says, look at this situation, you have the buzzards. And then she asks after a minute when they stop, how do you feel? Where do you feel in your body? So it's connecting the trauma to where it currently lives in the body. And last week, we looked at a situation where I was kissed by a boy when I was 6, not by choice. And that's not a fun thing to look at, obviously. But then it realized that was the root picture of losing my autonomy through my experiences with men, and or putting the needs of others over my own as well. So it was connected to my learned behavior of having to cater to people and learn and accommodate, and or at least the believing that I had to, and putting just not even really knowing what my own needs are. And so through that process, it's been a very interesting and enlightening way of reframing how I show up in a room and how I show up now in my life, or especially with like men. And I've been meeting all these great men who are safe to be around, because before I was not meeting men who were safe to be around. And I work with a lot of men who are very nice people, but like they have some emotional turbulence, or there's some type of like internal chaos going on in their space that I'm like, ooh, let me smooth that and fix that over. And now that I'm like shifting those narratives of like, I don't need to do that for other people, like, period. And that can be very freeing, and like it can be very jarring for the other people that you've been doing that for, though. And that's what I've been noticing at work, of like those extra things that I've just been going above and beyond because I thought that that's just what I had to do. And like I do love serving others, and like I believe on a soul cosmic level I'm here to serve others in a lot of different ways, but like I don't need to emotionally regulate other people. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to hear. Like, you're not responsible for the role that somebody played in harming you. And that's like something that I realized in that moment when I was 6, like I was taking responsibility for his part in the situation as a way to like have any type of like control or like, you know, self-autonomy or like empowerment. And like I realized like, oh, I don't need to hold that. And it's like you start shifting and rewiring and rethinking and like healing yourself internally, your external world starts to shift as well. Yeah. And I know you've experienced that a lot in your healing.
Yeah. Well, a lot of things that happen in our childhood, they do have a lot of consequences as we grow older, and we carry on a lot of these traumas and wounds into our adult lives. And it's interesting as you're talking about it, how, you know, it might be an isolated event, or it might be a lot of different things that happen throughout your life, and how this like cascades into every single aspect, into work, relationships, how you carry yourself in the world, how there's sometimes you're not even aware, right? Yeah. These things are kind of like running in the background, and how it's actually impacting your own life until you actually have the opportunity to work with someone that can kind of like either hold a mirror, you know, in front of you, or kind of offer you a different perspective, or kind of hold your hand, as it kind of seems like that's what you know, your therapist is doing, like holding your hands. Okay, I'm going to take you here, but in a safe way. Because in many ways, the healing, I mean, and again, I'm just kind of be all over the place when I talk about it. When you talk about like, oh, you know, you like the behavior before was kind of being more like up in the ethereal, right?
Yeah, in the astral.
In the astral, and that's like true for a lot of us, myself included, because what you learn is that it's not safe to be in the body.
Totally. Yeah, through those experiences.
Or just it's because it's painful, it's traumatic, it's too much, it's overwhelming. So you just learn to leave your body. Mm-hmm. And again, like in our process in the clairvoyant training, as you've mentioned, was to learn how to be in the body and sit with the discomfort of it.
Yeah.
And just kind of and go through the emotions, by the way, which is not fun.
No, it's not fun, but then it starts to be more fun because that your energy shifts and you're like, wow, all these new things are coming into my life. I've just like been kind of like being my own bottleneck and my own blocker.
Yeah. And no, it's interesting because as you go, because I always say like the only way out is through. Mm. But when you go through it, and when you kind of like on the other side of things, you're like, oh my gosh, I did it. Yeah. It wasn't like as like bad, and you didn't die in the process of it. Totally. I mean, it is jarring, and there's a lot of things that come up. But if you are able to do it in a safe way, and you have a safe container to help you go through it, even better. right? But
Yeah.
sometimes I know that might not be the case. So for myself, I also do therapy too. And I have my therapy sessions, I would say like every 2 weeks now.
Mhm.
And I've been working with the same therapist for almost a year now. So again, guys, healers, they need healing. So
Yes.
don't think as you're listening that we're like, oh, that we can talk about like all this like energetic stuff and psychic stuff, like, oh, it's so easy. But understand there is a lot of work that goes into being where we are today. But I also like I have my therapy sessions. For me also the somatic experience is very important too.
Yeah.
Because it really shows you like that it is safe to be in the body and also helps to regulate your nervous system
Yeah.
in
No,
many different
absolutely.
ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
In your case, I mean, you use different techniques. For me, breath work has been, incredible just to be connected to my body, in a very deep way. I don't do it every day. I'm not going to say I'm that type of person. It's
Yeah.
something that I do like kind of like here and there when I need it. So therapy, breath work. I also have learned about the Akashic Records, and I think I've mentioned here on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Let's talk about that.
it's a different healing modality where we go a little deeper as far as reading your energy and other people's energy, but we do it in a more, I don't know, I call it like it's a safe space,
Yeah.
to kind of look at the information. And maybe we'll do like a dedicated episode just to talk about the Akashic
Yeah,
Records.
no, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
If you could even like read me on the episode, like
Yeah,
I
I
you know
mean,
book, like yeah, that'd be fun.
that would be kind of like a fun episode just to like dive in because there's a lot to be talked about it, but I have gone through two different levels of reading the Akashic records, and first, in order for me as a healer to facilitate healing for others is to do the healing work myself.
Mm.
So it was really empowering, and also it's kind of like it's shedding the layers, right? Like
Yeah.
it's never just like, oh, that one thing. Oh, I healed that one thing. Okay, it's done. No, but
Right.
wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. There's
more,
always more.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you start looking at it like, oh, that thing again. Like, okay, so
Right.
there is a different layer. So the Akashic records allow me to look at different layers or what I already probably have been looking at it for a while. And so it's always that it brings that moment like, okay, that makes sense. And then you just like, it takes you to a different, it even encourages to go even further in your healing journey. So for me, and not only like I got readings during my class, but I also gave Akashic Records healing for my classmates. And that in itself, it's also a very healing experience.
Mhm.
So it's an ongoing process, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So when you are going through because you've given me a reading and it was like very spot on, and a reading and a healing. And when you are going through that process, like kind of how do you set up and like tap into the Akashic records? Like if somebody wanted to like learn how to do it, like what tools would they need? Like what do they need to get started? Or like, do they need to get a training? Do they need to like, can they kind of tap into it? Can they read a few books? Like what would you
So
recommend?
the great thing about the Akashic Records is that, with any, I would say like, with any type of what we call intuitive psychic training, anyone can do it because we all have intuitive abilities at different levels and in different ways that it kind of show up. But in particular, the Akashic Records, anyone can just hop in. You can either, of course, you can take a class like how I did it, but there are also books on this topic. This particular course that I took, it's based on Linda Howe's Akashic Records program. They say she's like the pioneer on the Akashic Records because she put this information out there like kind of like in the early 2000s because she published a book called How to Read the Akashic Records.
Oh, cool.
And that's available. I'll put a link in the show notes if you're curious. So a lot of people just go by the book. They read the book and it teaches like all the steps, because there is a what they call like a pathway prayer
Okay.
that you recite before you access the records, and it details like all the steps, how to do it. So it's very detailed. It is nice, and it is great, of course, to have an instructor to
Yeah.
kind of like really kind of, give you like a more comprehensive view of how to read it, give you more of the experience to actually like you can practice with your classmates or even with the teacher, and just kind of for the teacher to give you guidance
Yeah.
on it. But I would say books are great. There's podcasts out there to just like focus on the Akashic records. And I think it lately has become kind of mainstream to people talk about it.
I
Like,
feel like
oh,
it's more
it's a lot more popular. Like people say, oh, let's go to Akashic Records to fix. And people use a lot of this like terms that I'm not like, the most
aligned. Yes. Yeah.
aligned. And it doesn't feel like a lot accurate when it talks about the Akashic Records. But anyways, you do you. If it works for you, do
Yeah.
it. There's just kind of like how I see it. But it's a great tool for
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah. I see it as like kind of like so when we would tap into the Akashic records through our program at Psychic Horizons, I saw it as like a huge like library,
Yeah.
and there's like files. And so I would go and I would have a gatekeeper, because I was never able to go in for some reason. I would just like wait in the lobby and be like, hey, I'm looking for this like book, or I'm looking for these records for this like person I'm reading. They would like, this guy Bradford would like hand me, he's like a super, super flamboyant gay dude. he would, that's how he shows up, and his name's Bradford. He's like, yeah, I'm here to help you. And he's like super sassy, and he hands me a stack of files. And then in the healing, we would do our thing where we like integrate that information that's been missing. And that information, like it either got expunged and like put in the Akashic for various reasons, mostly because like they either couldn't handle the information at the time, or they're like, oh, I don't want, like something was preventing them from integrating it. And so when we looked at like the theme or whatever that was running, like I would just kind of replace some of those like missing like blank spots. It showed up to me like a film roll of like the frequency that people are like tuning into, from like the I don't know, the back of their head, like the information log, right? Where it's like literally where your information system is in your brain. And so through that process, like, but it's so interesting, like the Akashic records will look different for everybody on
It
an
does.
level.
We all have, specific like looking Akashic records, and it's always fun, to go into someone's records. And it's a big archive of your soul. And so every single detail about you on a soul level, it's in the records, and it's guarded. It's guarded by the Akashic record, the keepers. It's kind of like your spirit guides in a way.
Yeah.
And it's a very sacred space. I just don't treat it lightly. I think for me, it's a space where when I'm giving a reading, it's a space where you go into it with the utmost respect.
Yeah. Like pure intentions.
Pure intentions, and you're really going into it's best to get more clarity on what you're working through, maybe there are issues in your life that you want to take a deeper look, relationships, about, yourself. So there's a lot of things that only information that will come up that people are ready to receive.
Yeah.
And it's always with the most compassionate and non-judgmental way that this information is relayed. So that's what I really like about this type of healing modality. I access the Akashic records myself too, but it's always nice to get readings from others. I feel like because you always get perspective from other people. But I also do. I get readings from you. Also give me readings. I have great readers in our community that I go get readings from. Like, I go to the school here in Colorado where they offer this evenings that is called Connecting with Spirit Guides, and
Oh, cool.
I have recently attended where the owner or founder, she is a psychic medium and she facilitates communication. She's kind of like the vessel
Okay.
for everyone's spirit guides that kind of like in the group being read, and she also relays individual and group information. So it's also a very healing experience too for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's always fascinating to me how sometimes you think you're lonely when you are going through issues and you're going through your healing journey. But when you are in a space where others start to also share their issues and their struggles and you relate at some level, you're like, wow, I relate to this. And when people share their experience, I also find that also healing, because sometimes people can put words into what you've been feeling, or
Yeah.
they're able to express it in a way that you've been holding on. Because I always believe that healing also starts when you start speaking about it.
Totally. Because it can be like super clogged up in like your fifth
Yeah,
chakra,
because you're
right?
just like bottling up, and
Mhm.
it's kind of like, and it's almost like carrying a burden
Well, yeah. And
for
like
some people.
totally, like I carried a lot of shame around the incident, like when I was 6 and like when I got kissed by that neighbor boy. And I wasn't able to talk to my mom about it. And like, because, of her information of like, every time we would watch TV, she'd be like, kissing is weird, right? Like people just putting their face up to each other and like just, and her information just kind of showed, I know it's such a Tina comment, but her information showed me like, oh, I can't talk about anything sexual with her or like physical. And then I became like kind of matching that like repression. And then that caused me to have a lot of anxiety. Like ever since then, like, so what I cleaned out on Wednesday was like the shame and like the responsibility for the other person's role in it. And then also that anxiety. And I realized like, oh my God, every time I went on a date with a man, or was talking to a new guy on like online dating sites, I would have that same type of like safety anxiety of like, I'm not going to be able to predict their behavior. Therefore, that makes me feel unsafe in my body because of that one, like, cataclysmic incident. And so, but when you start like talking about these things and like kind of it makes it feel like not normalized, because that's not a normal situation. We should never normalize that. But like it makes it extra, it's not living inside, right? And you process it in a way that it feels like you're releasing things that aren't serving you, or information that, and the old narratives that aren't serving you anymore either. Then your external world also starts to shift. And like, so since you've been doing the like therapy and the Akashic Records, like how has your external world shifted? I mean, I know in a lot of ways because I know you, but like, for anyone listening, like how has that shifted, and like what's been the biggest?
It has changed massively.
Yeah.
It has completely transformed. I mean, my life has a lot of transformative moments since I started doing a lot of inner work or healing work. But I feel like that I'm at a point where I've been able to integrate a lot of bits, a lot of information, and processed a lot of that. Because for some people, it happens immediately. You look at it and you move on. But for me, it takes time for things for me to process, integrate, and then kind of, start moving on and forward onto kind of like how I see things, how this kind of like plays in my life, and how I become more aware of some certain patterns and behaviors. But I think it's more like how I show up
Right.
in my own life, how I feel more empowered to show up, to make decisions, to take action. Because a lot of us are kind of like, we hold ourselves back because of the fear.
You avoid things.
You do, because it's the fear of like a fear of judgment, fear of criticism, fear, it's the self-doubt. So these are things that kind of hold us back. And for me, it's more about like, it's this feeling of like, you know what? I trust myself.
Right.
I trust myself that I can do it, that I can take the action, that if it doesn't work out, I'll be fine.
Totally.
Doesn't matter, because I do have these tools and I have myself to kind of hold space for myself. That's kind of like how it feels, right?
Yeah. I think like that self-trust, like, because we're so often like consumed by things outside of us, right? Like TV and social media and TikTok and like Instagram.
Yeah, we are bombarded by this stuff, right?
Right. And so you're like looking for externally for like answers and informations to kind of validate either how you're feeling or how you're thinking. And it's like a subconscious thing that we do. It's not all the time. But if you're like, oh, like this situation happened, like I've been asking ChatGPT therapy questions. You know, like, and that's like fine too.
Yeah, I know, like, it's a thing now. But again, I just want to say, like, please, it's not a professional.
No, totally. Don't like doing that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like just asking, like, you know, like pretty easy or kind of like harmless things. That's totally fine. Resources.
Mine is like, ooh, like, I met this Aquarius man. Like, what is he like, or what is he attracted to? And then,
or like, you know, like how should I respond to the text message that this guy has so has sent me? And I think that's fine, but I think once we start taking this type of AI tools to the point where it's like what to make life decisions, that's where I would draw the line.
Right. You gotta trust in yourself.
You do want to trust in your own intuition, your discernment.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in your own information. But what about for you? Like, how has this shown up in your life and how has this reflected?
I think like just being able to like with therapy itself, I've been avoiding, it's not that I was avoiding therapy, but it took me a really long time to find a therapist. And like, I think I found it at the right time. And also I just, like, it's like the universe presented itself. It's like, oh, sign up with Rula. And it was like an Instagram ad.
Well, it shows up when you're ready.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
You're open to it. Because sometimes we do say like, oh, no, bring it to me right now. But sometimes we don't have the capacity.
Totally.
To hold all of it.
Yeah. And I was like, enough is enough. I like need to clean this like information out of my space. But like, I don't know how to do it. And like, it's been really nice, like having somebody hold space for me to do so. And then I realized, like, even with working out, like, oh, I'm starting to feel better and see results after like a month and a half of like working out. Well, actually, like just a month. Like, I think I joined a month ago, and it's just been incredible. Like, I feel better, and I'm like, oh, what was I waiting for? Like, what was I waiting for?
It's just, you know, like, how come I haven't tried this earlier, right? Yeah. But it all you would do when you feel it, you're ready. And again, you will gravitate towards what resonates with you, because we can sit here and talk about like all the stuff and how it has benefited you, but if it resonates, go for it. Be curious and explore. And if it doesn't, just leave it.
Totally.
How I say it, but I'll be curious to find out, like, if you're listening to this, have you tried any healing modalities? How has this worked for you? Share with us. We would like to learn more.
Yes. And thank you so much for tuning in to Psychic Girls Next Door. We really appreciate you listening, and we hope that you found this healing yourself,
Yes. And please share with your friends. We're all over social media, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks so much. Bye.